The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome once again to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley and I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now later on in the show we will be joined by GAA Referee Shane Scanlon. Shane is one of the up-and-coming referees in West Cork and beyond and took charge of this year's Cork Premier Senior Hurling Championship final this year too. But first we will discuss some recent stories that are taking the headlines in West Cork this week, and we will start off with the obvious one in West Cork that's taken the whole region by storm, there's no doubt about it. Paul O'Donovan, the rowing extraordinaire, obviously won the RTÉ Sportsperson of the Year for 2024. It's the first time he's ever won the individual accolade ever, and as well as that, it's the first rowing representative to ever win the award as well. Kieran, probably an obvious question here, but is this overdue? Because like a lot of people are expecting Paul to win the award by now, but he has won it for the first time this season. Obviously he deserves it. Should he have won more?
If he didn't win it this year, he'd probably never win it after the incredible year that he had, Matthew. Like we know by now, Paul is just a phenom. Like he's one of the greatest Irish sports people ever. Like he's Ireland's greatest rower. He's Ireland's most successful athlete. Ireland's most successful Olympian with those 3 medals from Rio to Tokyo to Paris. The first Irish sports person to medal at 3 different games. He's now won 7 world rowing titles at senior level. 3 in the single, 4 in the double. So you name it, he's done it. You know, so it's just kind of it's a very fitting honour for Paul, I think, to win this award. He's won so much over the years. I know he's very much kind of that team mantra. Himself and Finton won the Team of the Year back in 2022, but I think it's just after the year that Paul had, like I said, becoming Ireland's most successful Olympian with those 3 medals at 3 different games, and then going off winning the world senior singles score lightweight men's title. It just puts him on a different level to everyone else. So really, really well deserved.
Exactly. So, and he beat off some stiff competition as well, especially this season with Irish sport excelling in the Olympics. You look at Kelly Harrington, Daniel Whiffen, Rhys McClenaghan. You had some brilliant nominees there, and for Paul to beat them all this season in particular, it just epitomises how great of a sports person he is in many ways.
It is, yeah. When you talk about Paul, like obviously he's all the medals to prove it. Like I said, those Olympic medals and those 7 world titles. But look at his longevity too, Matthew. Like he kind of himself and Gary burst on the scene. That was back in 2015 at the Worlds that year when they qualified for the Olympics. And from 2016 up to 2024, he's just winning medals consistently. You know, like at the big regattas, Paul usually comes home with a medal, and it's usually gold. That's why he's 7 world gold medals. And he's 3 Olympic medals as well. So it's his longevity, it's his consistency, I suppose it's his dedication to his craft as well, and how much he loves rowing, that he's still like, and he's only 30. That's the thing. Like he's achieved so much already, and there's still more to come from him. He's stepping into the heavyweight side now with Finton, which is going to be quite interesting to see how that pans out. But he's easily one of our greatest ever athletes across any sport. So I think, like you said at the start, was this overdue? It probably was. But like I said, if he didn't win it this year, I don't know what he'd have to do to win it, you know, kind of. So I think just congrats to Paul. Like it's into award season now, and you can see himself and Finton starting to clean up over the weeks ahead, I think.
Exactly. So one award that the duo didn't win though was Team of the Year. The Team of the Year award was won by Katie George Dunleavy and Linda Kelly, who were this year's winners at the Paralympic event in gold, and they got gold and silver medals in the Paralympics. Paul and Finton achieved so much, and obviously they were marauding winners, obviously in that final in the Olympics as well. Were you shocked that they didn't win Team of the Year this year?
No, because I think there's kind of when Paul is going to win the overall award, there was no way the lads are going to bring home two awards, and it's only back in 2022 where they actually won the Team of the Year award. So there's kind of I wasn't surprised by that. Actually, when I saw the shortlist come out last week, when I saw Paul was nominated for the Sportsperson of the Year, I just had this inkling that he was going to win it because usually he's not nominated or shortlisted in the Sportsperson of the Year because he always preferred to be nominated for the kind of the Sports Team of the Year. So once he was in that short list, I was thinking, okay, kind of he's a really really good shout here, and it's just like I said, it's really well deserved after the year that he's had, and I suppose it's important too to kind of credit Fintan in this. Fintan is one half of that Irish lightweight men's double that won gold in Paris as well, and Paul and Fintan push each other so hard in training. So kind of while Paul has won the award for his achievements, which of course he deserves to, but a special award for Fintan too, who's had an incredible year himself.
Exactly. So, and it probably just epitomises the amazing year that Irish sports had, and there is a West Cork sports winner. Quite ironic in its own right. It's brilliant to see in that way. And congratulations again to Paul O'Donovan for winning that award. News just in this week as well about the Cork footballers. Jack Callahan, Castlehaven's scoring machine, has opted out of the Cork panel for 2025. He now becomes the seventh player that to either retire or to leave the Cork panel. So John Cleary will have his work cut out in January when the league starts. Kieran, where do Cork go from here? That's a seventh absentee now of the panel. It's not just an absentee. Jack Callahan was the joint top scorer for play in the Cork Premier Senior Football Championship this year, alongside Stephen Sherlock, who's also left the panel as well. There is some bother, really, by looking at the players that are leaving the panel.
Like I was surprised by this when I got it confirmed earlier, because okay, Jack hasn't played much for Cork. Even go back this season, he wasn't really kind of in consideration. But look at the year that he had for Castlehaven. Man of the match in the county final against Nemo, kicked 3 points. He was a 2-14 in the championship, kind of averaging 4 points a game. Like you said, there the joint top scorer from open play. He was one of the best players in the county championship, and you would think that the next natural step for Jack then it would be to kind of to kick on with Cork, and especially in the last couple of weeks we saw the likes of Stephen Sherlock, Damien Gore, John O'Rourke. They've all stepped away from the panel for various reasons. So when I got wind of this first, it did kind of catch me by surprise. But yeah, that is a story that Jack has decided to opt away for 2025, and it does like John Cleary's a bit of a job to do now. Like 7 players is a lot to lose. Okay, some of them weren't starters, but they were important panel players, the likes of Thomas Clancy and the likes of John O'Rourke, and even Stephen Sherlock he'll be a big loss as well next year, given his impact off the bench. So Cork have work to do to put a panel together to get out of Division Two, which will be their first target. But it's a small bit of a concern, Matthew. That's 7 players so far. 7 players so far, and what's to say that there won't be more in the weeks ahead? Maybe kind of extended panel members from this year might decide to step away as well. So it's kind of what Cork need is consistency in a panel to take that next step, and they're not getting it this winter. They're losing a lot of players, so it's yeah, like you said, it's probably a headache for John Cleary that he doesn't need right now.
Exactly so, and yeah, Cork start their Alliance League campaign against Meath on the 25th of January, and as Kieran said there, you wouldn't be shocked if there's an 8th or a 9th to leave the panel in the next few weeks. We'll have to see about that. Moving on to the actual action on the pitch, and the one remaining West Cork club, or division in this case, that were in action last weekend was Beara, the under-21A Beara side. They lost in the county final at the weekend, 1-11 to 6 points against Bishopstown. This was kind of a weird game, Kieran. They were 5 points to 1 up after a good lot of time in the first half. Bishopstown then get a goal and then build on that momentum and really wipe the slate clean in the second half. Beara only scored a point in the whole second half in that game. Disappointment in the end, but it will be probably positive for the region that they did get this far and get to a final at this stage. And on any other day, the bounce of a ball or anything like that, they could have won it.
Yeah, there's a couple of injuries too in the first half, I think, for Beara that kind of knocked them off stride as well. But like you said, of course they'd be disappointed to lose the county final. When you get there, you want to win it, and Beara were bidding for their first county under 21A football title in 18 years. So it's a long wait for a proud football division. Okay, they lost. Like I said, they will be kind of disappointed this week. But there are positives to take from that, because the Beara senior football team hasn't fielded the last 2 years in the county championship. And for a division like Beara, it's probably, they'll say themselves, that's not good enough. So to have a team that was able to get through to the county under 21A final. It shows that there is talent in the division. The next challenge for Beara is to take those players from that level into the senior team. There's very good footballers in Beara, and the hope is we'll see them back in the County Premier Senior Championship next year. So there is a silver lining to this County under 21A run. The fact that they did get there, the fact that their players got exposure to county semi-finals, county quarter-finals, a county final up in Parky Ring. So hopefully they can build on that and the clubs will buy in and just get behind the Beara team, because everybody wants to see Beara kind of pushing forward, and the hope is we'll see the Beara senior team back in action next year.
Exactly. So, and that's probably going to be the main aim for Beara next year, considering they were out of the Premier Senior Football Championship without even playing a game in the college divisional sections over the last couple of years. So hopefully Beara take this and use it as a confidence booster for the next few years. Lucky as well, there were West Cork players involved in various clubs in the LGFA finals over the weekend. We'll start off with the junior final with Mungret St. Paul's and Limerick beating Downings on Donegal 12 points to 4. There were 3 West Cork girls on this team. There was Niamh Crowley from Bantry. You have Carl Bateman from Rosscarbery, and also on the bench you had Soiv Redmond from Ballydehob in this team, Kieran. And Carl Bateman clipped a clean sheet as well. She's going into her 4th season on the Limerick senior team as well, so she's doing absolutely brilliant since moving all the way to Limerick from Rosscarbery. Niamh Crowley as well, she was in the junior final, coincidentally enough, for Bantry back a few years back. Lost that final against Dunboyne from County Meath. She's now won a junior All-Ireland medal at the second time of asking. So it's just brilliant to see 3 West Cork girls in this Mungret St. Paul's team.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it, like off the back of O'Donnell and Rossa winning this title last year, just keeps that West Cork connection going to the All-Ireland Junior Club Championship. But like you said there, it's lovely to have that connection to the Mungret St. Paul's team through Carl Bateman, through Niamh Crowley, and obviously Soiv Redmond as well. So it's a nice positive kind of football story at this time of the year. So congrats to all the players involved.
Exactly. So, and another player that was in LGFA final action this weekend, or last weekend at this stage, was Niamh Cotter. Unfortunately for Niamh, Kilmacud Crokes did come up short against Kilkerran Clonberne, 13 points to 9. Kilkerran won their 4th All-Ireland in a row. But Niamh Cotter did absolutely brilliant in this. She scored 7 points in this final. For a while there, up until I think the 34th minute, she was the only Kilmacud scorer on the score sheet. And considering the injury issues that she did have up until this game, and to get a final appearance in Croke Park and to do as well as she did, I think she'll be delighted with her performance this season. Obviously disappointed with the results that Kilmacud got at the weekend, but it's just a miraculous story for Niamh Cotter.
That's exactly it, what you said there, Matthew. Of course, she'd be disappointed that Kilmacud lost the final, but on a personal level for Niamh, like, she'll have to be so proud of what she's achieved this season. To kick 7 points in an All-Ireland club final, it's just a testament to the talent that Niamh has. And we think back to her when she was with Beara and the West Cork ladies, like she was a Cork senior footballer, like she's inter-county standard. But then she had a back injury that derailed her for, like she was telling us in last week's start, for 3.5 seasons. It derailed her, and there was a point there where she felt that she might never be back. She was in her surgeon's office on Dorset Street. It was 6 months after she had her back operation in July 2021, and out of the window of the surgeon's office, she could see Croke Park, and she was telling me that she was thinking, I'm never going to play there again. I'm never going to play there again. Yet here we are, kind of 2 years on, and even after kicking 7 points in an All-Ireland club final. It's just a great story on a personal level for Niamh, given the challenges that she's had. Like for the first 3.5 years since she transferred to Kilmacud Crokes, she joked she was the worst transfer in history because she was just on the bench. But at least Kilmacud are getting to see how good Niamh is right now. And like I said, disappointed with the result, but like just on a personal level, like just great to see Niamh back on the big stage and showing that she's a big game player.
Exactly. So, and obviously she'll be disappointed with the result, but a brilliant season for Niamh Cotter. Looking at it, well, there was the last game of the Carbery Junior A Championships. Kilmeen beat Newcestown in the relegation playoff in that game. So now the 16 teams have been confirmed for 2025 in the Carbery division. Obviously, we'll be all day looking at all the, but in particular, this is a quite interesting stat here. There's only 2 B teams in this Carbery Junior A Championship next year: Carbery Rangers and Castlehaven. So no Clonakilty, no Newcestown, no Donovan Rossa, no Donnies. It's all A teams in amongst the regions in Carbery. That could only be good for the division, couldn't it? Like the likes of Randalogue there, Goleen, you look at Barry Rose, St. Column, St. Oliver Plunkett. So you have a lot of good clubs there that have a serious chance of doing well next season.
It is, no, it's a very, very interesting stat, and I hadn't realised that you just said it there, Matthew. If you look at Castlehaven and Carbery Rangers, they're probably two of the stronger B teams, and in recent seasons, I think Carbery Rangers got to the final only 3 or 4 years ago, and Castlehaven have been thereabouts the, the the last twilight as well. It's going to be so competitive, that Junior A Championship again next year. Quebec will be the team to beat as champions, but St James is coming down, Goleen coming up, and some really good teams in there as well. The Argideen Rangers and the Ballydehob and the Havens and so on, and it's going to make it a really interesting one. So kind of, I'll be looking forward to the draw whenever it's going to happen. I presume it'll be the next couple of weeks, and we'll start to look forward to what 2025 has to offer.
Exactly so, and we will see what that draw does throw up in the next few weeks. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break, we will be talking to Shane Scanlon.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So welcome back to the podcast, and in a while we'll be on to Shane Scanlon, GAA referee that is making waves in Cork County and West Cork indeed. So yeah, Kieran, it's been a brilliant rise really for Shane. He took charge of the County Premier Senior Hurling Championship final this year between Imokilly and Sarsfields. Like, that was a proud achievement, I'd imagine, for him. He's taken charge of Carbery Junior A finals as well. I think a Premier Intermediate hurling final as well, a college divisional final. So in his young career, like, Shane's only 26, he's achieved so much.
Yeah, he's one of the top up and coming referees in Carbery and in the county. So no, it's great to actually have a chat with Shane, because we know referees have been under pressure the last couple of years, and divisions and different boards are trying to get people to kind of to take up the whistle and become refereeing, and just to get involved in that side of the game. So to have a chat with someone like Shane, who could tell us about his love and why he got involved in it and how much he enjoys it. I think that's very good. I think if we see referees as people rather than just people men with a whistle and in their referee kit, I think that's important too, to learn more about them and their story, and why they've got involved, and why it's their passion. Because whatever the sport, like whether it's camogie, football, ladies football, hurling, they need referees. We need referees. Without referees, we have no games. And there has been a shortage of referees over the last couple of years. So hopefully that we'll have more young people get involved in refereeing and to see the value of it. That's why to hear, or we're going to hear from Shane now, I think it's very, very enlightening, because it just gives us and I suppose his insight into why he became a referee and why he thinks it's such a good career path to go down.
Today I'll be joined on the podcast now by GAA referee Shane Scanlon to discuss refereeing in the Carbery division and refereeing in general as well. So first of all, Shane, how you been over the last few days? A long season for yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. It's kind of been on the wind down. I suppose I'm kind of at the novelty of the fact that, I suppose I'm involved with intercounty and involved in club. So it is a long year. My first game this year was on the 2nd of January. And only for kind of getting an injury there in the last month. I probably would have been up as far as last weekend. So it is a long year, but I felt to myself it was a good old year. You kind of won't get years like it too regularly. So I was happy enough. But it's a nice little break now coming to Christmas, and you can put the feet up.
As a matter of interest, when did you start becoming interested in refereeing, and how do you go down that route?
I suppose, like anyone, you kind of just fall into refereeing. I don't think anyone, when they're younger, kind of grows up to be aspired to be a referee. And it's kind of out the back while everyone's pucking around, blowing a whistle out the back garden. I actually was doing a bit of work. My father is an accountant in Dumanway, and had been working over the couple of summers. And a colleague of his, Joe Kelly, was involved with Ravenlogue West at the time, and I could see that he kind of was under pressure with referees. There was lads dropping out in matches, and my own father was like, "Look, would you not go in and do that for yourself?" And kind of keep you involved in the GAA, because at the time I was playing away a bit of minor football and hurling with Newcestown, but I kind of just knew myself that unless I really kind of went at it, kind of making a senior panel in the club is very hard. So I kind of just fell into it, and I kind of found it was fine. I never had really huge aspirations of taking it any further. It was kind of grand to keep the fella fit. But when I went away to college, then I had kind of stopped playing with my own club properly. I played up as far as under 21, bit of junior. So the refereeing was going all right at the time, and I just kind of kept plugging away with it. Still kind of no real aspirations to kind of drive on, but I was getting good games, and they were going all right, and kind of just slowly progressed like that. But like kind of similar situation to everyone. Like I know lads have kind of got involved with refereeing just by chance. No referee turned up, and they kind of would just be asked, and fellas fall into it like that. So I'm happy enough with it, and we can only see what the future brings.
And how long is the process of becoming a referee? I know for the top level inter-county referees, like it's a long, long time. But for yourself, Shane, how long does it take?
At that time when we did it, I was doing. There was a young whistlers kind of course that we would have actually done when I was in school in Hamilton High School in Bannon, and it would have kind of been involved with just refereeing go games. Again, nothing too serious. Wasn't like there was no rebel games. And we would have gone out doing a few blitzes on a Saturday morning. But if you wanted to go in and pursue it further, you could get involved through the county board, and they would have set up courses. So I remember the first night we got involved, I think the man in charge at the time was Ger Harrington. They ran 2 courses, and I think was it 2 Thursdays, kind of once a month. And you kind of did the first part of the course one evening, it was about 2 hours, on to the next one. And after that, then you were a fully qualified referee as such. So like in theory, you kind of could go straight in and referee a senior match, but it wouldn't really be the progress. You'd start at under 12 and work your way up. So there's a few years in that, and even like I'm refereeing now since 2017. I did my first 2 years only just solely refereeing under 12 and under 14, and kind of you don't want to go in too early with a fella. They kind of give you games as you go along, and look, every game is not going to go perfect. Anyone knows that, but we'll get kind of games, and if they think you're ready, they'll move you on. But like depending on the character you are, you could easily get kind of fast tracked. And like I know some lads have done courses now in the last 2 or 3 years, and they're already up refereeing Premier Intermediate and senior matches, which is great. That there is a fast tracking system in there, because I know I wouldn't say there's a crisis, like, but obviously the more referees we have, the better. Especially with the magnitude of games that are in Cork.
And I suppose, what was your first game of refereeing? Like you said, your first time was in 2017 at juvenile level. So how was that?
I suppose it was daunting in one aspect, and like I know, like you're only dealing with children that are age of 11 to 12, like, but sure, anyone that knows and that has kids themselves, like, knows that every time they go and play a match, it's the biggest thing that is in their agenda for that day. So I remember, I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but I definitely remember I did a few games in Bandon at the start, football and hurling, and like, I suppose when you're playing at the same time and you think you have an idea of the rules, and like it's kind of the only thing that you kind of learn as you go along, and you'll definitely pick up different tips and tricks, and it's only when something goes wrong is when you actually learn from it. But I definitely have one game that it kind of stands out in now. I think it could have been the first 1 or 2 games. Like it was an under 12 match between Bandon and Castlehaven, and like we were taught when we were inside in the courses that, like, taking down the score is obviously so important. It is vital. And I was kind of doing it like you do in primary school, that you would kind of put down lines and then you cross it out every time you got a 5. But like I remember at the end of the game, it was a high scoring match. I had lost total track of the score altogether. And then you have 30 kids running up to you at the end of the match. And I think there was only a point or 2 in it in. Whether it was right or wrong on looking back at it, I actually don't even know. But my score, I suppose, stood. But like I just remember there being absolute war at the end of the match, and kind of went out and I was like, Jesus, is this for me at all? But rang a couple of people after the match, and they were like, look, you're just going to have to learn now the next day that just do the small bit difference, and you kind of park it and move on. But they were enjoyable, like, and like I suppose we were dealing with kids too, and I'm a teacher myself. Even though I was in school at the time, like, they would, like, you would have to be empathetic too, like, children are only learning the rules. It's kind of like they're not going to know them all. For some referees, when they start off, they don't know all the rules, even though they have done their courses. You can't just expect someone to have 80 pages of a rule book learned off. So there will be mistakes made, but I just think it's enjoyable as you learn. And look, either stuff I did when I was 18 or 19 when I was refereeing that I still stick by. That, like, as I said, you'd only learn as you go along when you make a mistake, and just stick with you.
And what qualities does a referee need to have, in your opinion?
I suppose, like, for anyone that kind of would start into it, I think they'd have to be somebody calm anyway. Like sometimes even games that you get involved, no matter if it's under 12 up to as far as senior, like they can be high stakes, whether it be a championship match or a league match. Everything, there's something on the line for every match. So someone that can remain calm, and as I alluded to there, but being empathetic. Like, some people when they go into matches, they just make their decision and that's it. And look, that's fair enough too. But like, if you come from a player's point of view, like, you must be able to see where they're coming from too. Like, even though you're looking at it from a totally different angle, a player is only doing what they think is right at the time. So kind of just being able to look at it from their point of view too. and just talk and reason with them. So being able to be open to communication, someone that's very approachable too, that would be a good quality. Like, I know myself, even if you were to give a decision, and I'm not saying I'm no expert or anything, or even watching other lads, like, but if you can justify your decision to them, a player in front of you, 9 times out of 10 they'll accept it. And it makes things easier as you go along, because if a player can see that you're approachable and that you're open to communication, they'll have less scope for aggro later on as the match goes on.
And why would you recommend refereeing to a younger generation, for example?
Like, as I said, when I kind of started off, like, I had no real kind of, aspects, or sorry, no real intentions of kind of take it as far as it's gone for me. But geez, it was definitely a very good way of keeping fit. Like, any of my friends that can remember me when I was in secondary school, I kind of wasn't on the skinnier side, so I kind of said, look, this is probably one way of keeping active. Like, any referee that's doing any game will cover anywhere from 5 to 7 kilometers in a match. So it's definitely a good way of keeping fit. It's just a good way of keeping involved in your club too. Like, I know we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago and we were discussing, like, what would we do in our own division with regards to recruitment. And we even felt that, like, for players that are kind of coming up to retirement stages in their own club, like, it would be a great way to continue on, because especially for players that are playing games, if they can continue on into reffing, it would just make the standard of it increase, and like, players will make good referees because they'll have the knowledge of the games themselves, and players will be more open to standing. I played against him a couple of years ago. He knows what it's been like, and that's what most people end up in refereeing anyway. Like, they would see someone reffing and they say, look, geez, I might be able to do a better job than them. And it's only when you actually try your hand in it that you either might like it. And it's not for everyone. Like, I know we at the moment have 260 active referees in Cork. Whether they're all active or not is the question. Like, people have different commitments on. But if we could try and get up to 300 in the next year or two, that would be great, because I was even just doing a few statistics before I came on, and that, like, every weekend as the championship comes on in the summer, like, there's 36 championship games at county board level. You add in another 40 games that are happening at the divisional aspect of it. That's 76 games, and like, you need 3 officials in terms of linesmen and refs at the matches, plus your 4 umpires. Like, that's 228 refs. Like, there's a lot of manpower needed for these games. So whether you're just trying to get involved to help out in your own club and do it as a linesman, every little helps. But it's just a very good way of staying involved. It's like, I know, as I say, coaching is not for everyone, but it would just help, as it is kind of a volunteer-based organisation.
We've seen the past few weeks, actually, a piece in the paper about Aidan O'Rourke, the outgoing Carbery chairman, talking about addressing the problem of the shortage of referees in clubs in Carbery in many ways. How do you think, in your opinion, how could we address that problem?
Like, I suppose there's no proven formula to it. Like, I know every year there are kind of these headlines in the paper about, that we need more referees, and like, I kind of would nearly be on the opposite in Carbery. I do find even though there is certain areas that there is a shortage, like, we would actually have a healthy number in Carbery. Obviously more is better, but like, even on the younger aspect side of the division, like, we have a good few younger referees involved and are refereeing at junior level now in Cork and up into the county board level compared to some of the other divisions in Cork. But I just think that there probably is, like, the only that's probably catching our division is that there's such a range of age. There's probably a block in between the 35 to 50 mark that probably does need to be addressed. And like, that goes back to your own getting out and getting the player that's nearly going to be retiring in the next few years. If we can get that age bracket of people to kind of commit to it, like, it would just make the continuation of the refereeing in our division as healthy as it is at the minute. Now, how you would do it, there again, as I said, we were talking in the last couple of weeks in different meetings about what we'll do. I think we were on about having a meeting with the clubs, and just like, you can't force anyone to do anything in a club, but just have a chat with people in their club to identify possible people that might be involved. And like, there's people that would stand in at matches and do umpire, and like, every club is great for providing people. Some clubs are obviously better than others, but like, they're the kind of people that, like, if they're taking an interest in even doing umpiring, they might even take an interest in doing a bit of refereeing too, and it would just alleviate the burden a small bit that would be there, especially around the time of championship.
And just as a matter of interest as well, you mentioned that you played underage for Newcestown, your club, as well. Which would you say is a harder thing to do, to play or to ref?
Um, it's kind of funny, like, because like even like I was only just preparing for this, and like I was looking in, and that was one thing I was like, geez, what I suppose, which is harder? Like players have an awful lot of commitment, and I only see it with the lads in my own house here, through our own club and a couple of friends playing with the other club. The commitment is unbelievable. Like you will be training 3 nights a week, with a game at the weekend, and there's a lot to be given up, especially around the time of championship. But I suppose that commitment is still there at refereeing. Like I have been involved in 144 games, if not 145 games this year alone. And as I said, starting on the 2nd of January up as far as when I got injured a couple of weeks ago. So the commitment is still there. What I would see with the difference, I suppose, is that like number one, team-based sports are kind of like you're involved with a group, and like you're not. I don't think any player is ever playing for his own personal gain. You're just trying for the betterment of the team, and that's where you're training. So the person next to you can help him on. Refereeing is a small bit different that way. It's a bit more individualized. Like everyone has their own different individual goals. Some goals being different to others depending on what referee you're dealing with. But I also think it is just a totally different view of the game. Like if you're playing a match, you can get a sense of like when things are going bad or when things are going right for you. Or even if you're a fan, you're watching the match up in the stand and you can see how kind of game is going. But like it's gas even as a referee, like lads will say to me after doing a championship match or doing any match, whether it be inter-county or club, like, geez, how did you think that team got on? Or that team was, geez, they were poor there for 15 minutes. Like I would kind of be in my own world half the time when I'm refereeing because you're so concentrated on actually what's in front of you when you're taking 5 minute bursts. Okay, we'll get this 5 minutes as right as we can. Oftentimes the game kind of passes you by without like Jesus, like what actually happened there, and you get from the start to get to the end, without nearly viewing the match at all. So I suppose that is different. Like you have a job to do as a referee, whereas like I just wouldn't really see that when I'm even watching matches or playing. The players have their own jobs, but like they can sense more how the game is going.
Which sport would you find tougher to referee, hurling or football?
Um, I suppose I have the novelty of being able to do both. I suppose our own club in Newcestown is a dual club, so when I started refereeing, I was like, look, we'll do both of them. I've kind of progressed a bit more with the hurling. I would find the hurling, just because I suppose like you will be probably better at one, naturally enough. Sometimes fellas will disagree with you on that, but I kind of find the hurling easier because it just goes a bit quicker. But in saying that, like you'd have to be a bit more, like you'd have to be a small bit quicker with your decisions in the hurling. Like football, it moves a bit slower. You have a tiny bit more time to think. But there is then a lot more rules in football, and like we can all see in the papers at the minute that the game of football is just going to totally change altogether. And like I understand it to be very hard for clubs, but like thank God I'm going to miss some of this in the new year. But like the rules are going to be just difficult enough for referees to manage, and like it's grand when people are looking at inter-county matches and they see it like that. But you've 7 officials that are all trained to a high level there. It's the poor fellow going out doing a bit of junior football at the weekend, or going doing a county league game on a Sunday. Like how he's going to manage it, I don't know. So look, that is a question for itself. But look, we'll have to just learn that as we go along. But I do feel the football rules are a bit more technical. That is a bit more difficult. But a good game of football when it's being refereed properly can be very enjoyable too. So look, I do think that the hurling is a small bit easier. But there will be football referees will tell you the opposite. Then, like they say, I don't know how you're doing hurling because there's what is a foul and what is not a foul. Oftentimes.
And you mentioned the new rules that were brought in by the FRC was passed in Congress last month. And a few discipline rules that were mentioned as well was if there is any sort of dissent, a free will be pushed up 50 metres. Then another bit as well, only captains could speak to the referees. That was put through Congress as well. What do you think of those in terms of discipline for the players, in terms of respecting referees?
Well, look, I think it's a positive move, definitely, because although I only see with a lot of clubs, like the discipline for a lot of clubs has got better over the last couple of years. Again, it could be better. Oftentimes I've gone to matches, not even refereeing or just watching, and like the discipline would be poor enough. Oftentimes through no fault of the referee, but like if a referee brings it forward 13 yards, he's kind of just trying to lay out a stall that obviously the communication lines there are probably breaking down. The 50-meter penalty I do think is a very good initiative, but it's just going to be how it's managed. Like, are you going to have a situation where it's going to move forward for any bit of lip? I don't know. I suppose that would be what teams would have to discuss with the referee beforehand. And like as you said there, the role of the captain is going to be very important. Personally, myself, I do kind of enjoy. Well, I enjoy as the game's going on being able to just chat away to different people. It just opens communication lines a small bit more. But obviously the FRC have made their decision on that, and it'll make the role of a captain probably more important than ever. But it probably is. Look, it's the right move really, because depending on what is happening in the game, like some referees do get hopped with abuse, and it's just probably not anyway acceptable at all. So you'll notice yourself now, and we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, that the first round of the league, especially the National League, like there will be a rake of these 50-metre penalties being given out, because the players won't be used to it, and it's only when it's going to be probably clamped down on at the start of the league, players will just get used to it. But it'll definitely kind of have a more of a zero tolerance approach to any sort of miscommunication by players to referees. And like another one that's going to be very good as well would be mentors, and how they are open to communication with referees, because if a mentor now miscommunicates with a referee through any sort of verbal abuse or to a sideline official, they're automatically given a red card, and their team is punished. And like I know every club has a lot of people involved in the background team. Sometimes it's just crazy on the sideline how many people are there. But it'll definitely have a bit more responsibility on mentors not to be the reason their team is sacrificed, our team is punished, sorry.
And we see the last few years, and maybe not this season to be fair, but in up and down the country in championships, referees getting pushed at the end of games, and players complaining about decisions towards the end of games. Like there was some in the club championships at senior level in the last few seasons. How do you think the respect for referees can be improved as we go on in the next few years? Like other than the FRC rules, of course.
Look, I kind of again, I've had this debate with a lot of people. Like it is quite difficult. Like I just don't think there is any player in the county who has actually gone out of their way to even read the rule book. Like probably just kind of education towards rules. He's even like I know my own club. Back was it 2 years ago? I kind of had a couple of meetings with the coaches just to kind of go through a few bits, and it probably look it wasn't the reason they did well or anything like, but it just definitely did help. I know, or they were kind of keeping tracks on disciplining themselves and like not giving away yards as such. But the fact they even kind of got onto me to kind of get involved, and it was the same with I got involved with a different couple of clubs too, just giving a hand. And like there was probably more of an awareness too of what's actually going on, because like an awful lot of times like no referee will ever just blow the whistle for the crack as such. Like they probably have seen something. The player themselves is probably just not aware of what they've actually done or to the severity of it. And just kind of getting used to it. Like even the technical rules there that some players just don't know about at all. And when a referee blows it, they're just up in arms because they think they've done nothing wrong, which is fair enough too, but they haven't educated themselves, or the education really hasn't been provided to them to actually be aware of what what they've actually done. So I definitely do think education of rules to all clubs would be something that would be very positive. And I'd like they were on about promoting give respect, get respect. Back was it 2 years ago now, and even the fact it was kind of on social media and in the match programs at the weekend and National League matches, people saw it, people were a bit more aware. But like anything, Rome wasn't built in a day. This isn't going to be overchanged in one swell move. But every little helps in that aspect. Again, the more that's being promoted about kind of not abusing referees and a zero tolerance that way, it does help. I do think as well that there probably should be more punishments for people that do take it over the top. I've been involved in games myself where some management teams have just lost the plot altogether, and it is reported. And what they do, there is sanctions given. But the more of that is put out there, it'll just stamp it out straight away. So going back to what you were saying there about the FRC rules, they will help massively. But again, it'll take a few years for this to actually kind of be clamped down on a small bit more.
So far in your young career, Shane, you've refereed in a Carbery Junior A football final, you've refereed in a college divisional final, and this season obviously refereed the County Premier Senior Hurling Championship final between Imokilly and Sarsfields as well. What are your targets for the next few years? Because that's some resume to have in your young career so far.
I suppose I was delighted, and going back to when I took up the whistle first up in the top pitch up in Bannon, doing the under-12 games, like I just didn't think he would ever go this far. Like I still at the time I still wanted to play away in my own club, and that was probably the aim. But I was like, look, we'll potter along with this refereeing and see how far it goes. But like you're just given chances. I feel in Cork, like going back to even another comment I wanted to pass was like that. If I hadn't actually got involved in refereeing, like I wouldn't have been anywhere near a senior match. Whereas like you will referee at a higher standard than you would have if you kept on playing. If you go away from the playing route. But my targets for the future, like at the moment, my main concern is to kind of just I'll go and get my operation at the end of the month and just try and recover that as best I can, so that maybe in 12 months' time, when I'm kind of hopefully back refereeing, I can kind of pick up where I left off. Like I was lucky enough to have been advanced onto the National League panel for this year. But like obviously that's been part for the year now. But look, if I could give it a couple of years at that, and just maybe in 5 years' time again, kind of check in and see where we are. As I said, as you kind of alluded to, I'm quite young for this. And look, in 5 years' time, I could be somewhere else in the world. Could be different jobs. Could be after moving up the country. You can't really make a target when you don't really know what will happen in the future to yourself. But if I could just do a couple of years on the National League panel and keep pottering along in Cork and just kind of maintaining my own fitness too, I'd be happy enough with it. Like you're probably only ever one match away or two matches away from the whole thing falling under. But just we'll see how we are there in a couple of years, and look, hopefully, if we were to check in 5 years time, we're still happy with doing it away.
Definitely so, and hopefully that'll be the case in the next few years. Yeah, Shane, appreciate your time coming on the podcast today. Best of luck in your recovery for early next season as well, and thanks for coming on to the podcast, and all the best in your rest of your refereeing career.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matthew.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So yeah, it's that time of the week again, Kieran, where we look at what's in this week's Southern Star. So what should our readers expect this Thursday?
Yeah, it's our last live edition, you could say, before Christmas, as we have our 2024 sports review out next week. So we've loads in there. It's a packed edition again. We've obviously the Beara County final and Kilmead winning the relegation playoff. We've news on that. We've Mahoon's had a reunion lately of the 1974 team that won the Junior B hurling championship. So we've a really good piece by Tom Lyons on that. Also an interview with Mary Crimmon from Valley Rovers, who won the West Cork LGFA Club Volunteer of the Year award very recently. And we also have an interview with Maeve O'Donovan, the Clonakilty ladies football captain, after she picked up a West Cork Sports Star award in just last week. Also, it's going to be pretty busy in the soccer front over the festive period. So we've all kind of details of the fixtures coming up. And we also chat to John Leahy, the Clonakilty Soccer Club manager, to get his take on the Premier Division title race that is starting to hop up. And there's a review of the action last weekend, and a special shout out to Eli Reynolds of Bay Rovers, who got four goals in their championship win against Mizenhob. And all those 4 goals came in the second half, I think, Matthew, wasn't it? Including a stoppage time penalty. So that's a headline grabbing performance if ever I saw one. And also this week, kind of an annual staple of our Star Sport diet is Ger McCarthy ranks his top 10 sport books of the year to date. So if you're trying to find a sports book as a present for the sports fan in your life, check it out this week. Or if you want to get a sports book for yourself to read over the Christmas period, check out our list. So yeah, there's a lot happening in this week's Star Sport.
Exactly. So, and as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.